Mm-hmm.
All right, we should be live.
1, 2, 3, 4. I see a world that's equal and right. I see a world that's peaceful and a future so bright. But I am just utopia dreaming. Got a dreaming inside. Alright.
There you go. So that's our little intro that I put together with.
If you want to have it as an intro so it mutes all of us and we're not on
Yeah.
screen, if you load it onto your banners and put it let's see, is it banners?
No,
Or is
it's brand, but I
It's
tried
brand,
to upload
okay.
a couple of these videos. It wouldn't take them, so I don't know if I've maybe already got too much in there.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. That could
just
be.
hi guys in the chat. I just saw Angie Dell. Hi Angie, and we've got Carrie Ann here. Hello, it's good to see you guys. Anyway, it's all yours, Granny. We're
Okay.
live.
Hello and welcome to the first edition of the Utopians. We are a group of people. There's 4 of us here today, but there are more of us that some could not make it today. And this is going to be a show where there's a little bit of music, a little bit of comedy, a little bit of talk, and we're going to talk about what we think would make for a utopian society, the things that we see wrong with our current society, and possible suggestions on how to fix it. And I have a surprise for everyone, and nobody knows that I'm going to talk about this because I only thought of it a few hours ago.
I'm a bit nervous.
I'm excited. I'm
What-
excited. Yes.
Okay. I went to church today
What?
and
What?
I was inspired.
What? Wait, church and inspired in the same sentence from Godless Granny now in 2024?
Absolutely.
I have
Because
to hear
here's
about
what
this.
happened. My best friend is someone that I knew from church, from a church that I used to belong to, and her father-in-law died. And I went to the memorial service to support my friend. I did know her father-in-law. He was a member of the church as well, but not for very long before we left the church and he went to assisted living. So I really didn't know him very well, but I did want to support my friend, and that's why I went to the service. And while I was at the service, one of the things I did was they played a video. And I started watching the video. I said, I could make this. This is a nice video. I could make this. And it started with a clip of an aerial view of some mountains that was obviously taken from a helicopter because it was a moving view. And then there was a man who sang the Lord's Prayer. And I started thinking about it, and I thought, I've heard a dozen times through this service, he's in a better place. He's in a better place. He's in a better place. And I know that gives comfort to people who are believers, but that also really ticks off unbelievers. And I don't think I was the only unbeliever in the audience. There might have been 2 of us, but I'm not going to rain on their parade. I'll just go along with it. But as he started to sing, I started to think, I don't know of any songs for a secular funeral. And so I started thinking, and then when the pastor got up and gave his BS, I mean his sermon, I started writing. And I came up with some ideas for a song for a secular service. And it's not finished. This is only in the thought stage, but this is what I've come up with so far. The title of the song, and I hope I can do this without getting too emotional. I can't. I'm not in a better place, but that's okay. And the lyrics, what I've come up with so far, and they're not in rhythm yet. I'll work out the rhythm after I finish going through the ideas and getting all the verses. So, I'm not here. I've left this life, but I'm not gone. I'll live on in your heart and in your memories. I'm not in a better place, but that's okay. And the last line of the song is, I'm not in a better place, but you're going to be okay.
Wow,
Wow.
that's
I love it.
powerful. That is really powerful.
Wow.
Told you I got inspired.
You
I
did,
feel that
and
though. I
you got
feel
so
that.
emotional there, Granny. I mean, that's awesome. They're good lyrics. That's powerful.
I
Like
think
that
we've
kind of
been
hits
there.
you.
You know, we've been there for those of us that want to honor those that still believe and have these services for people that are going, and we're there and we feel this. We're like, we don't believe you're in a bitter place. Like I get all, I can understand the emotion in how you feel a little bit right now, Granny. Like having to go to those meals and sit there and eat, and they're all like, you know, it's yeah,
It's actually
wow.
actually a really good topic. That's what that song's about, Claire. That actually you're on. I'm gonna publish that. A secular song of mourning,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
as in
Mm-hmm.
morning, not
Mm-hmm.
morning, afternoon. Yeah, a secular song of mourning, and that's basically just what you did there. Is basically what that song's about, and I think it is actually important because we, as atheists, well, not necessarily speaking about Ghana, um, need something, because we all need. You kind of still long for some kind of spiritual connection, even though you know almost 100% that there's no God up there and there's no heaven. We do kind of need some connection and some belief that makes us, just feel at peace in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and look, it really is. It's all about that, isn't it? It's
Yes.
just basically what you said then. Yeah, that was lovely. It was really nice. I can help you with that. Did you want to put music
When I
to that?
finished the lyrics, yes, I was hoping you would
Mhm.
write the music for it.
Of course.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'll help you with the phrasing and everything. But those lyrics sound as though they're sitting pretty good anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really nice.
I
And
think
I
the
want to give it to
sentiment
Dave
is spot
Warnock.
on. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. The sentiment is spot on, because even though we may not believe in heaven or a God, we still all, well, I won't say all, but myself and many that I speak to in the atheist community, we still wrestle with the what after.
Mm.
How to comfort those that are grieving with
Mhm.
with the what after, like, because they look to you and they're like, don't talk to me, you don't even believe. And I'm like, that doesn't mean I don't feel. Maybe I don't
Mhm.
believe.
Mhm.
This
Doesn't mean I don't feel. Like, I hear
this
you. Yeah.
is also kind of pretty relevant because, ultimately, I mean, religion's a good topic for this, because in a utopian society, I think religion as an organized thing is just not going to be there.
Mhm.
Religion as a personal thing, sure, that's what we're
Yeah.
talking about right now. It's kind of,
Right.
it's a religious longing, right, that's in us.
Mhm. I don't even
Um,
like the word religion. I leave it to belief, because every
for
time I
sure,
think
yeah,
religion, I think organized, and I think money, and I
absolutely,
think
yeah. And
preaching. I'm like,
religion is basically the organized side of it, isn't it?
mhm.
So we can
Yeah.
say more spirituality.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it is very relevant. Yeah, I don't know. What's my idea of it is that, look, in a way, we all did come from the same place, wherever that is, and it's probably just nothingness. And we're all going back there. Like, to me, that somehow gives me some kind of peace. All the
Mhm.
loved ones that I've met and loved in my life, I know that wherever we came from, we will go back to that, whether it's complete darkness and nothingness, or I don't know, reincarnation, which, trust, I don't believe that any of that is real, but we don't know, right? We can't be
Mhm.
so arrogant as to say that we know 100% that none of these things happen. But yeah, that kind of gives me a peace of mind, is just knowing that we will in a way be together back
Mhm.
in the void, whatever it is,
Mhm. I think it would be a hoot to get the little tap on the shoulder as I'm being reborn. We're like, hello, non-believer. There you go again. Like,
Yeah, I know.
I'm here
Yeah.
for it. Like, show me. But that's the problem why I don't believe, because you can't show me and I don't see, and I
That's right.
can't. I like reading of fantasy novels and things like that, and I'm all about creativity, but not with this. Not with this. For some reason,
Yeah.
it just doesn't resonate true to
No,
me.
it doesn't. And if there were something like reincarnation, we wouldn't know about it anyway, because you would just be born ignorant of the fact that you were just
Oh,
reincarnated.
that's
It
true.
was
Well,
just
that's the
yeah,
popular theory, but I'm hoping I
yeah,
get the tap on the shoulder and goes,
yeah,
redo,
and you know
haha,
it. Then
smarty pants. Like you're
you
gonna
would be
have
the
to redo it.
wisest person on the planet.
No, because
There are some
you'll
people who
forget.
claim to know of past lives.
Yeah, but I don't think
Yeah.
no, I don't think I have no recollection of ever reading anyone actually recalling total infancy things like before a year old. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
so I'm sure they
James
could tell us
Dobson
anything.
claims to remember being an infant, not in a past life, but even in this life. He claims that he remembers sitting on his mom's lap and being fed pablum. But
Hmm.
I question whether he really does remember that.
I
Look, my
yeah.
brother believes that he's astral traveled.
Mm.
You know, now I don't know. He has had issues with depression and things throughout his life, and he's a
Mhm.
very intelligent guy, but he does kind of tend to drift off into a bit of fantasy. And I think his
Mhm.
fantasy world is very, very real to him. It's
I
like
do know
strong.
that I can remember being 2.
Yeah.
And
I
the way I know that for sure is because I told my mom a story that I remembered of playing with a friend, and my mom told me that that friend moved away before I turned 3.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, because a lot of times they
Yeah.
say that whether we realize it or not, we are some of our childhood memories, the youngest ones, like early, are from things people have said to us as we were
Mhm.
growing up,
Right.
repeating the stories of things we did, like an aunt talking to our mother about something that we did that was cute,
Mm.
and then this just stays in there, and then it becomes like a memory to us, even though we
Mhm.
don't recall who said it or what. We were like we were there, but you could possibly remember, actually, playing with that friend, because I think about 2 or 3 is when they say we actually start storing
Mhm.
long,
Mhm.
long, long-term memory.
One
This.
thing that I'm never sure about is the civil rights movement and the Vietnam War. I remember that my parents watched those on the news every night, and we were there. And I
Mhm.
remember events, but I don't remember if I remember the events from having seen them on the news as a young child, or if I remember from seeing them in books and from other sources. I'm just not sure where those memories are from.
Mine's even worse because I got like absolutely called out because I was speaking on uh the Kennedy assassination in the news, and I was
Mhm.
actually repeating what my relative said because I wasn't born yet. I was still
Oh.
a couple of years, and I was talking about it like as if I was there, but I was recalling everything they told me about what they felt and what they saw, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, like that couldn't have been, like it couldn't have been, but I actually felt when I was talking about it like I saw it. So
I
I
was
get,
2.
yeah. Yeah.
I was the same age as little John John.
Mm. Oh.
But
I
no matter. I mean, it ultimately we can only see it as being a psychological thing
Mhm,
and things getting mixed up in your memory from way in the past because there's no proof, and that's what we all kind of
mhm.
stand for, isn't it? It's like, look, maybe it's true, but just give me some proof. Just show me. You know,
Yeah.
that's all we really ask for. There's no point in committing your life to someone sorry, to something, as a lot of people do with religion, when you don't even know if it's real. What's the point? You know.
Yeah.
So, and I know you say that, Granny, so many times about like I guess you call them wasted years in a way
Mhm.
because your mind
Mhm.
could have been wandering elsewhere and really exploring and not
Mhm.
being stuck in this rigid thought.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's just a sad thing to find yourself committing to something
Mhm.
that you don't even know if it's real. You know.
Yeah, and then just to be, just because this is like what I'm known to do, just the other side of the coin, um, it's not like every one of us here, although we don't have that belief, has some belief, because that is necessary for human nature and progression.
Yeah.
I do not
Mm.
believe that human beings can actually, and I think that's one of the main reasons I'm on this stream for Utopia, like about a better world in society, is that not having anything to commit to and believe to is a failing that we have right now in society, a great failing
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
individually,
Mm.
that we're all looking like for something, and if you cannot apply yourself, like like how many of us are sitting around like what to do, where to do, what's useless, what's not,
Mm.
needs
Which
to be
is why
productive.
people end up going
Yeah.
down the paths of like conspiracy theories and things like that. Just
I
something to
really,
attach
yeah,
themselves to, you know?
exactly. Just to like, I've got to find the truth in something, somehow,
Yeah.
some way.
Yep.
And it comes from like, nobody's actually telling me the truth. Maybe I'm being hoodwinked about everything, you know, and trying to find out for yourself. But I really do believe that, you know, this is my conversation I want to have with some philosophers and some scientists and some psychologists and therapists about free will, because the science says, because of the time and this and all the scientific theory, that everything is already predetermined in some way. And I'm like, well, the hell, a human being can't live that way, because if you don't think you have some control over your life, why? Then the big why comes in. And you might as well just sit in a chair and wait. Because,
Yeah.
like, you know,
Like
if
a
it's all
Muslim.
predetermined, like, what does it
Yeah.
matter? I'll wear different color socks. Why should I put on shoes? Forget about brushing my teeth. Who gives a damn? I don't care.
That's how it
You
was
know,
meant to be.
yeah, like, so I have
Yeah.
that. I don't agree. This the one thing about science I don't agree with. Like, don't take my free will away. Like,
Well, I
Yeah.
don't think that's really what it means. First of all, it's not agreed on in science. It's a very controversial topic,
yeah.
and the experts are very divided. But
Mhm.
even those that say that there is no free will, they say it's a combination of your experience and your genetics that determines what choices you're going to make. But there's still choices. It's just that you don't have as much control over those choices as you might think, because the things that came in your past predetermined them.
Mhm.
But it's those very experiences that you're experiencing right now that are going to affect your choices in the future. So you still have to
Make the
make those
choices.
choices
Yeah.
that are
Well,
going to eventually influence other choices that you make.
and that part I'm all solid with. Like, I get all
Mhm.
that part, but when they tell me that the outcomes are only slightly changed by whatever the heck I do, that's where I have an issue. I think I've just got too strong, or I want to have too strong an effect on the world to believe that that is true, that I'm only making like not enough difference in my own life, you know.
Art,
I
I think
think
you said you
the
had a couple of clips that you wanted to
yeah,
show us.
I
Mm.
do. Yeah, it will take us in a slightly different direction. Yeah, I just wanted to say about the free will thing. I think we have free will, but it's within the own confines of our psychology, our
Mhm.
chemicals, whether we're male or female, whether we're whatever, all these different things come into it. You're stuck in that. You can't escape that. So you do have some kind of free will, but it's within the confines of everything, physically, psychologically, your
Mhm.
background, where you're brought up, like all these things influence, you know, who you are. So
Mhm.
within that,
Mm.
you know, you
Oh,
do have free will.
can I answer
Anyway,
that question, since I'm the one who said it? Like, when I say you have to believe in something, if even the belief in nothing is a belief in something. So you're solid. Like, if you believe in nothing, you're still good.
true
That's a
enough. Yeah.
belief.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like, we make a decision on what we're gonna follow and what we do. So yeah,
Praise the great nothing.
yeah.
Praise
That's what I
nothingness.
mean.
You can do
Yeah,
that if you want.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I will, because we mentioned conspiracy theories and things before. I just had a couple of random clips to play. Now, Aaron sent me this a little while ago for a music video we did on the other channel. So I'll just give you some of Aaron's thoughts on conspiracy theories here.
Expose yourself, I have a chapter on conspiracy theories called Strippers Exposed. Here's just a small sample. With so much disinformation out there in the world, it can be easy to get caught up in conspiracy theories, even if you are smart and know how to fact check. Fear and insecurity can be a powerful driving force in our lives and can lead us to believe some stuff that isn't true. If you can realize where your fear and insecurity are driving you to believe or make up things that have no substance, you will have created a natural defense against conspiracy thinking. There are enough real things to fear in the world without having to worry if your microwave is spying on you. If you read or hear something that strikes fear in you, take a deep breath, do a little fact checking, and relax. It is far more likely than not that what is being presented might just be a conspiracy theory designed to scare you. While there is power in fear, There is a greater power in knowing just what is worth being afraid of.
All right, so I think that's a good bit of advice there from Erin. That's from her book Expose Yourself, which is autobiography, I guess, which was really interesting. I read that book. Hang on, I'm just trying to get rid of that. Yeah, so that's interesting. We can do without conspiracy theories. That's a good thing that we can look at and try and eradicate to, reach some kind of a utopian society, because I mean that's an issue, isn't it? I mean, look at you, to bring up Trump supporters, the MAGA people, and hopefully people don't hate me for saying that, but look, I'm sorry, there's some crazy MAGA people out there. And they are very, very strong with the whole conspiracy theory thing. That's a lot of what drives those people, which I actually have a clip about that, which I'll play as well. Did anybody want to sort of add to that? You guys live it because you're all Americans. Like, you're going
Yeah.
through it. I'm just looking at it from a distance, but you guys are living it.
Yeah.
Yes, and it gets tougher every day. Like,
The one that just absolutely blows my mind is that the Daily Wire has given Candace Owens her own show to be an anti-vaxxer, dedicated to nothing but anti-vax.
You are joking.
I am not joking.
not joking. No.
I mean, that lady's insane, because every single thing, whether it's climate change or whatever, whether it's trans rights, whether it's whatever, she's on the wrong side of it. Everything. Just like, where is your compassion, your caring? Where's your humanness? Like, these people just seem like some kind of robot that just blurts out all this crap,
It's funny.
They don't have
because
any
it's
free
all-
will.
True.
True. Except for the free will to become a name and to live on the edge of it in controversy and whatever's going to make them popular
Yes.
out there.
Unfortunately,
And
people like her, I feel as though it's career driven as well. I think for a lot of those,
that's it. Look
they
at all
do
the
get paid
views that
money.
they get. Yeah. And they get views from both sides, because here we are sitting like with our mouths open at what they're saying. But you know what? We know what they're saying because we've seen it somewhere. We heard it. We watched it. Like, they're getting
I think it comes from an innate wanting to know something that other people don't know. And you feel like, when someone's let you in on a conspiracy, that I found the truth, and most people don't know this, and it kind of gives you a feeling of superiority.
We've been pushing back on the anti-vax community well before COVID. COVID brought it much more into the forefront for a lot of us. It impacted our lives on a daily basis. But because of my being an ally for autism in some of the horrible things that were said about vaccines in there, I got on that boat a long time ago, like a long time ago, especially since, they require in America, most school systems required you to vaccinate your children to protect all the other children. And then they started to have to make exceptions for religious belief against anti-vax. So it's like, if you don't want to get a vaccination, that's fine. But you don't have the right to expose other people. So I say, then homeschool. Then you shouldn't be getting an exception for your anti-vax to be in school, because everybody else has to have it. So what's the sense of having the vaccination rule when you're going to let all these other people without vaccinations in? It just didn't make any sense to me. So, you can make that decision, but you have to have the consequences of that decision, that you may not be able to participate in, like, certain things for the greater good. But nope, they changed the whole rule. Like, that's ridiculous.
I might be going overboard in the wrong direction here. Exactly what Erin is warning against, fear mongering. But on the other hand, if this ever comes to be, it is definitely something to fear. And that is, I just finished reading a novel that, obviously this is fiction at this point, but we're not that far away from this being fact. And that is, in the book, the villains devised a bioweapon that would give plague but it excluded white people. So anyone that came in
Bizarre.
contact
Oh,
with this
Bizarre
virus
idea.
would
Yeah.
die unless they were white. And it was a neo-Nazi group that
Mm.
developed it.
mm,
And with the rise of the neo-Nazis and the fascists, I saw someone on Twitter just the other day arguing about how we need to get white people to have more babies because white birth rates are dropping. And I said, "So what?
Who
What
cares?
difference does it make?"
So
yeah.
exactly. Who cares? So what? You know, it just blows me away. Like, why are people so stuck on this? I mean, things change in society. We evolve physically. You know, we change. If we're in 1,000 years or whatever, we're all a bit browner skinned. You know, different shaped eyes, hair,
Mhm.
whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Humans, if that's what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen. So what?
I know.
Mhm.
Isn't this what they do though? People that don't have their minds open for what other people's beliefs or opinions or any critical thinking, what they do is have to build their own cult around it. They have to.
Mm.
So what are they going to have to do? You're going to have to repopulate like everybody that believes like me, like and make it bigger because they are the minority right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Closing
these-
themselves off.
Do these people forget that we were all apes at one time? Can you
Yeah,
imagine living
exactly.
then?
A lot of them don't believe that.
And even before, I know a lot of them don't believe that. They seem to think that this little pocket of time
Mhm.
over the billions of years that
Mhm.
the universe has existed, their little pocket is the most important and the only existing thing, and they
Mhm.
can't look beyond it. And if you don't follow science and take scientific concepts on board, you're going to be trapped in that little thing that's going to make you come up with dumb ideas like, race and things like that, and that should only be white people or whatever. It's going to make you have these small-minded things. It's why we have science. It's the closest thing we have, isn't it, to objective truth? So
I hope whatever we evolve into turns out to be smarter than we are.
yeah, well, I hope so. If we get there, Granny, that's the thing. Like, are we
Well,
going to
they say that
kill
we've been
ourselves?
getting smarter, but I don't know that it's actually helped us a lot in society. Exactly, like with all of the turbulence and all of the confusion that we have right now here in America. I'm not as familiar how it is everywhere, but when like I was looking at some of the problems we have in America, and then I searched them, they were quite common in every other country too, at least the more democratically advanced countries, like in England, in Australia, in even a young country like New Zealand. They're having the same kind of societal problems that we are.
Of course, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
inevitable. I guess that there's always that fringe thing there. Most of us just want to live our lives with each
Mhm.
other and just let everybody do what they do. Most of us are like that, I think.
I was shocked. When I think of a country like Sweden, don't you think like advanced, peaceful, like they got it going
Mhm.
on? Like, okay, I watched a documentary last night with my friend that they had a huge, huge gang problem
Mm.
that was going on after the large immigration things that happened in the early 2000s. And I was like shocked, and they had no way to actually deal with it. So it kept getting worse because they had very lenient adolescent repercussions in the legal system and stuff. And they tried to do things kinder. They believed in rehabilitation rather than incarceration and stuff. And all these things for the higher thinking in a peaceful country. And then they were devastated by this problem that we have in America, right? Ghana and Godless Granny on the East Coast. It's a big thing. And it is prevalent in the other states too. It's just not as well known, but we hear about it every day. I mean, I don't live where you would think you would hear gunshots, and I hear gunshots every day. It's weird.
Well,
But
I can't imagine that.
but I was shocked.
That frightens me. Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't like Record said, they had no-go zones where people couldn't even go into the area where certain towns, certain areas and neighborhoods, they were called a no-go, and the police wouldn't even go in there. If you went in there, you just got attacked, beat up, taken it's terrible. But
Have
I
all, have
never
all of
thought of
you,
it.
South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah. But to me, it was surprising because you don't think, you know, it just never occurred to me. I always think of that as like they don't have the problems we have. They figured it out. But nope. Yeah.
well, we had a mass shooting here in Australia years and years and years ago. I think it was the 90s, and I'm probably going to get the information wrong here.
Mhm.
But our prime minister at the time just said, "That's it. Give me the guns." They had
Mhm.
big skips everywhere. All the guns went in there. Gone.
Well,
That was it.
they did
We
that
haven't had a
I wish we could
mass
do that
shooting
here.
since then.
Oh,
Yeah.
do I wish we could do that here.
I think it needs to be a balance because they did do that in the UK. And before I watched this actual documentary, I watched another one about the gangs in the UK that started after the gun laws went into effect. And they used knives and stuff, and they still had guns. Because even though they took everybody's guns and everything, they didn't make the offenses with a gun like triple or whatever, which is probably the best way to get gun violence down, is make the actual repercussions for it very severe,
Yeah.
because taking them away illegally, they just got them anyway, and they just did whatever they did.
I feel as
Yeah.
though Americans have become dependent on guns because that's what you guys have been brought up with. I'm not saying everybody is,
Mhm.
but it's part of your life, your fabric. I
Mhm.
guess it's always been like that. Whereas my bringing up's completely the opposite. There was no guns. So for
Mm.
anyone to be, if my
Mhm.
next door neighbor, I know they own a gun, I'm a bit nervous about it.
Mhm.
I've never heard a gunshot. I think when I was a kid living in West Australia, we used to stay on people's farms and things like that. I'd have friends that had farms. You'd go out, people might be shooting a kangaroo or something like that, or shooting a
Mhm.
bird. You heard it on farms and things like that, but definitely not on the streets.
I
Like
never hear gunfire, when I go out, but I do see people carrying guns.
Yes,
I do see people open carrying.
because you have open carry in
We have
your
open carry here.
and
wow.
yet I hear
Mm.
guns all the time, and I'm not in an open carry state. Isn't that weird? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
is
in
weird.
open carry because the crime rate is so high. But that's what I say. It's not necessarily, like, I know this is going to sound like I'm not really. I don't think eliminating guns in America is the solution, because now I've done the research to see in other countries where it didn't work as well as they thought it would. The crime rate still stayed the same, and they just found other ways. It's the penalty phase. It's the repercussions that we have to work on. It's more.
I
But
don't
then,
agree.
no, I know, but many people don't. It's just because now in America, the way it is right now, some people feel they need guns to protect themselves. I know in
Right.
the crime
Mm.
rate that I have right now, I would feel safer if someone in my home had a gun locked up in a safe that they could get to protect me from a home
And this is where
invasion
the
and the
loot.
horrible things that could happen.
This is where the
And
loot goes.
and I
isn't
was
it?
never
Let's
there
not have-
before, Granny. I wasn't. This only happened to me in the last few
Yeah.
years that I got to that point where I could see where I may need a gun to protect myself, and I need to learn how to use a gun because the odds are somebody's going to use one against me here where I live. Yeah.
First, a couple reasons why I don't agree with that is, number one, crime rates are actually down, and most people don't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
And people are
I
just
have
so
heard that.
afraid
Yep.
that, overall crime rates are down. Now, there are certain types of crime that are up, and crime is certainly up in certain areas, but overall crime rates are down.
Mm-hmm.
And the second reason is, if somebody breaks into your house and you've got a gun in a gun safe, you're not going to have time to open that gun safe
Mm-hmm.
and get that gun out. And even if you do, the odds are that it's going to be used against you. More homeowners are shot with their own guns from a perpetrator who took the gun away from them and shot them with it than homeowners shooting a perpetrator with a gun.
No, I mean, I understand that nationally they are down, but where I am, they are not. Like, it's
I get
worse.
that. I do get that.
That's frightening, Ganna.
It is, because where you live, like, I would think that that's not like big city, right? Like, I'm
No,
thinking,
but I'm right along the border. We've had a lot of issues recently. Some abductions right down the street from me.
Mhm.
Immigration's a big thing over here where I'm at. They're trying to pass a law that allows us to shoot people that come on our land, not just the castle doctrine, but the land that we own.
Are you in Texas?
No, I'm not,
Oh.
but close to
Okay.
Texas.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And we
there
have
is a
open
lot.
carry here, but there's a lot of people out there that do carry and they shouldn't carry.
Right.
And I don't want to own a gun or carry a gun, but I also don't feel very safe out in public.
I hear you. I hear you again. You got to worry about getting shot like innocently with something else going on because everybody else has them. And that's the quandary that I'm in.
Where our psychology is completely different, because you guys are scared if you don't have guns because you feel as though you need that protection, which is fully understandable.
And yet I don't want to own a gun. Like I'm with Granny on that. I don't want to own a gun.
Yeah, but you feel as though you're forced into it. It's like, I need to protect myself. Yeah,
I'm bringing my fist to a gunfight. I'm gonna lose.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I do get it. I understand. Yeah.
Because
if
the
we
odds
lived in
are,
Utopia, we wouldn't need them.
we would hope, because the odds are in the society the way it is now, Ghana and I are both at a very high risk of being a victim of gun violence in some way. In you
New
can't.
Jersey is pretty rough area, isn't it? Well, it's where Sopranos
But
happens.
the whole you would think the gangsters would have done a better job of eliminating this problem for us, like keep them all to them, because like there was not a lot of innocent people shot in massive executions of gangster on gangster. Like pretty much they just got them. I actually felt safer with that than I do now. The randomness that this stuff is happening right now, and you can't go to any news media, open any of the platforms without seeing gun violence in America, whether it's a school shooting, a mall shooting, a family annihilator, or a depressed, unwell person, somebody with a gripe, or just a protest of some site where they're just like, gang on gang. There's so many different levels of it, but it's all gun violence, and it's everywhere.
Well, we have, of course, everywhere's got violence, but if you have access to guns, that's when it can be taken to the next level, isn't it? So it's not an issue here. We don't even think about it.
It makes the quandary for us here in America, because like if you're a critical thinker, you're saying, listen, owning a gun is not the answer, because that just makes me could possibly contribute to the problem down the line. I could shoot somebody innocently thinking they're breaking into my house, and it could just be the guy down the street who just got diagnosed with Alzheimer's and thought this was his house, so he kept trying to get in. I might overreact and shoot him, and that would be a terrible tragedy, right? Like I don't want anything like that to happen. And so we're going to blame the gun because the gun does it, right? But it's actually this pressure from society, like you said, that is making us all feel like we need to protect ourselves because things are so out of control.
Yeah. Of course, that makes sense. Like we obviously understand that you want to protect yourself and your family. So yeah, I understand why. If I lived over there, I might be thinking the same thing. I'm going to have to get me a gun, but because it's just not a thing here, you don't think about it. And if I know people with guns, then I'm kind of.
I mean, I understand the desire of many to get rid of the guns is to make an easier fix to the gun violence problem as it is, and it is part of the solution. But with our Second Amendment and how people will just come right down on the side of that, I can't even see it's possible, Granny. Not in our lifetimes. Like
not until you break the power of the NRA. That's the real problem. The NRA just has too much power.
Yeah, so it all comes down to profit again. That's another thing.
Did you see the major rifle company got sanctioned in New York recently?
Yep.
Yeah, everybody's concentrating on what that the AG did against Trump, but I got to tell you, it's bigger than that. They're going after all the big businesses for fraud and yep, they just got the rifle company right before. Like that was huge. But they didn't, it didn't play in the news very well. I only saw like 2 outlets put it out. I was shocked.
Art, you've got another clip for us?
I do. Yeah. Look, these are all things. If we sort these things out, it's towards a better society, isn't it? which is ultimately utopia. Anyway, look, the clips that I'm playing are all a bit random because it's not scripted or anything just yet. This is like a first show, and I'm just kind of throwing some ideas out there. So it's all a bit jumbled. But look, we were talking about Trump. I had this clip which I saw, which I think is very relevant.
Found effective, if you have found any, in convincing other hardcore Trump supporters to come out of it?
Well, you know, what's been helpful is to read the book by Stephen Hansen on the cult of Trump. However, applying some of those tactics, they're in such denial. It's so deep. It's just like working with an alcoholic that doesn't want to get sober or an addict. They don't want to hear you. They blank you out. You tell them some facts, and they dispute you, argue with you. They don't want to hear it. Their brain has been hijacked and brainwashed by Trump, and it's hard to get through to them right now. That's why I've been telling people, don't worry about trying to convince anybody of anything. Just get your friends to go vote, your Democrat friends and family, because I think they're too far gone right now for anybody to reach them.
So that lady, is an ex-MAGA lady, and I just thought what she said was really interesting. It's just this whole thing about our psychology is part of the problem why we can't move forward and progress. We're not objective. We're stuck in our own little bubbles. We're very subjective. And of course, we always have to be subjective up to a point. It's impossible to completely escape that. But you can certainly make an effort to gather information and learn about more things so that your awareness is a bit more spread out and you're not just stuck in this insular little bubble, where you become something like that. Like I watch people getting interviewed, MAGA supporters getting interviewed. What is it? Rebel HQ, one of the shows that I watch. And look, some of the things they say are just it's just frightening. It just blows me away, like how they can get stuck in this psychology of all these really bad and untrue ideas goes beyond me, And look, we have our own political situations and things going on here, but America interests me because everything that happens there is magnified beyond anything that happens. We have the same issues. They're just not as big and open as what they are in the US, So US politics and society kind of interests me in that way because it's maybe one of the most extreme examples of what a society can be. And obviously it's very capitalist, which we are in Australia too, but it goes more to an extreme, in the US because basically you lead the way in
I think it's our politics that does that because our politics are so there's such a big divide on both sides. Although all countries have political parties that differ, when it comes to big issues, I notice morely they're on the same page about solving some of the big issues. Majorly, like the major ones, like gangs and crime and things like that. They don't have opposing things. But here, everything's a political fight. I mean, if I say blue, 20 people are going to come up and say, nope, Claire is red. And
exactly. It's the whole partisan thing. I'm sticking with this no matter what.
Yeah.
I'm incapable of getting out of if someone is a Republican, they're just going to stick with Republican ideas, even if the Democrats come up with something that's kind of, you know what? That's a pretty good idea. I like that. We'll go with that. It's just like this complete, nope, Democrats came up with it. It's shit.
Exactly.
I think it's our military.
Just a bad attitude.
Our military, yeah.
I think it's our military that causes our politics to be so important globally. Because whatever happens globally, whatever side the United States takes, is going to get the most military support.
Absolutely,
what's going on in the Middle East right now. The United States is supporting Israel, and that's why things are going the way they are. Ukraine, if the United States hadn't supported Ukraine, they'd have been overrun long ago. And it's because most countries depend on our military might to take care of the rest of the world and to keep certain things in check, communism. That's why our politics are so important globally.
Exactly. That's true, because there's so much power there that it's got potentially affects the rest of the planet. And
Exactly.
even with things like climate change, like there's so much power there. If it gets out of control there, then, you know, if policies come in that just allow gas companies and oil companies just to go crazy and do whatever they want, then we're all stuffed. The planet's
Right. Exactly.
okay. And we all have those issues. But obviously in America, once again, it's bigger because you've got such a big population, and whatever happens over there in so many ways seems to affect it. So there's a wash off effect or a roll off effect or something that kind of goes around the world. To me, that's how I perceive it. But then that's just a personal opinion. So
I saw an interview recently that was just fascinating. It was on one of the late night talk shows, and I don't remember which one. They sent out a reporter to interview some Trump supporters, and the reporter read some things that Trump did, but instead of saying Trump did it, she said that Biden did it. And she said, you know, she read, I can't even remember what the specific things were, and actually they're not really that important, but if you heard that Biden did, and she named off something Trump did, what would you say? And she's, well, obviously Biden is, you know, should be in a mental ward. He's just got dementia. He's just, you know, he is a dementia patient. And then the reporter said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I mixed up my questions there. It was actually Donald Trump that did that." So, what do you think, Donald Trump, dementia patient? And the person, "Oh, no, that's
no, of course not.
yeah, it's." And they did this with several different people with several different scenarios. And it was really fascinating to see that when they thought that Biden did it, it was, "Oh, that's terrible." But when they heard that Trump did it, they were like, maybe it's not so bad.
Exactly. This is the psychology that lady was just talking about before. It's frightening. Look, I don't know if I should play this. I find it extremely offensive, but we're only a tiny channel. I guess not many people are gonna picking up, but this is kind of the mentality. I don't know if you've seen Kid Rock, that guy on he's like a full-on Republican. He's a rap artist or rock rap artist from back in the 90s. Anyway, he's on Joe Rogan. Look, he made these comments. It frightens me that you can have this mentality, but I know it's out there. I guess I've done an introduction to it, so I'm as well playing it now. But I find this offensive, and it makes me feel a bit sick. But anyway, let's have a look.
The only wars we won were the fucking ones we were the most brutal motherfuckers on the planet, which I don't disagree with what Israel's doing. It's like they should just go in there and be like, you know what? We want our hostages back. If we don't have them back, clock starts now in fucking 24 hours. We're going to start bombing motherfuckers and killing fucking civilians. 30, 40,000 a fucking time. So you civilians better fucking pack up and fucking get these fucking motherfuckers and you go against Hamas. You fucking go against them.
Look, that interview goes on. He says more crap. But it's this mentality. How do you get like that? Like, is he incapable of seeing that if these are people over there with families, is he incapable of thinking that maybe if I was in that situation, I would see things completely differently? I'd be completely on the other side of the table and have a completely different mentality about the whole thing. But because it doesn't affect him personally, it's just 30, 40,000 people. It's not some little baby that's laying down in a pram somewhere getting walked by their mum. You know, that mum loves that child as much as anybody else does on the planet. And it's like, nah, just bomb them. Just stick a few bombs, get a few missiles in there, shoot them.
I really think that religion has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Because in the book of Revelation, it says that when Jesus comes back, he's going to come to Israel. And, you know, the blood is going to run as deep as the bridles of the horses' mouths. And, you know, anyone who's not a believer is going to be killed. And he is exactly what that kind of mentality develops.
Yeah, it embodies that, doesn't it?
Yeah, if I'm a believer, I'm entitled to live. And if you're not, you know, you're going to get slaughtered anyway. What difference does it make?
Yeah. I see what you mean with the Bible. It does, not that I've read the Bible, but I'm aware of a lot of the sentiment that comes from it. And yeah, it is very much just, look, these people have wronged us. Let's wipe them all out completely, you know? Not just
Well,
the
in the book
people that
of
have created the
Revelation, Jesus is
situation.
supposed to wipe out everybody that's not a Jesus follower.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah. No, totally frightening. And in saying that, I think that it's time for this.
Potato. I love potato. I love
Yeah,
potato.
potatoes pretty awesome. That's a Ghana special.
Space
Yeah,
potato.
just to make us all feel a little bit better because it is kind of getting a little
It
bit
is.
heavy.
It's
But
hard to talk about what we would like for a utopia and not
yeah,
address what we're dealing with. It's
exactly.
hard to keep it light because every
Mhm.
topic
It
is
can't be.
heavy.
Every
Yep.
topic's heavy, and it's the whole point. I mean,
Yeah.
you could it could be a little site or a channel where it's like we're all happy and it's bright. Hey, let's be
Mhm.
positive and blah blah blah. But as you say, Claire, if you don't look at the issues, then you can't talk about what we can do to improve
Fix
it.
it.
You know,
Yep.
Exactly. It's like you
Yep.
got to embrace the horrible to just try to make it better. You got to actually look at what it actually is. And a part of that is taking accountability for what we are all doing or not doing to do
Yeah.
anything about it. And that is also a contribution to why things are getting so much worse, in my personal belief. I've been researching the apathy of many. And it's not just the younger people. Like, yes, the 18 to 24s are not voting the way they did, or well, they never really did, but they're getting less and less. But now the older generations are the ones having children, and if they're apathetic, then their children will be also, because it's been shown the political aspiration being involved or not passes from generation to generation on what you're exposed to. We're no longer even teaching it in school anymore. Political the way our country was set up politically and how you can contribute to politics was a big subject when I was in school, and it's not anymore. It wasn't when my daughter went through school. It's not in my grandchild's school right now. They went through the presidential election. Well, not many of those children knew how you could go to become, registered to run for president, or how you could get a lot involved in local politics.
One thing that we used to have that we don't have anymore, the League of Women Voters used to send out a sample ballot to us in the mail
Mhm.
every time there was an election coming up. And you could read it and you knew exactly what the ballot was going to look like. So it was very easy to go and start, researching the candidates, not just the candidates, but also the issues that were referendums, and
Mhm.
find out what people were saying on both sides of the issues. And it was really easy to walk into the voting booth knowing exactly what you were going to put on your
Mhm.
ballot. And now that we don't get that anymore,
Mhm.
I walk into the voting booth and I know who's running for president and who's running for senator and for the House, and usually for state Senate, state Congress. But that's as far as it goes. When
Mhm.
it comes down to city council and the school board and the lower level judges, I don't have any idea who these candidates are.
Yeah. And it's not, and there is a little bit of information usually, and it's really hard to find. And yet
Yes,
a lot of them aren't putting out information about what they stand for, what they're going to do, and everything. They're just there on the especially locally. It's really hard to find out what they're about. There aren't
right.
just
You see the
there
road
aren't as
signs with their
many
name on it, and
open
that's it.
there aren't as many open forums where you can go and ask questions about how they feel about so, or because they're saying it's too costly, it's too dangerous, things have changed since COVID. I'm like, no, you just don't want us to know. You just figure somebody's just going to flip a switch, the luck of the odds or whatever. Because I'm one looking for that information, it is becoming very hard to find. I agree with you,
Mhm.
Granny. Very hard on the local
And the
in.
government isn't helping.
Mm-mm.
In most countries, people get time off to go vote, and you don't here. The polls are only open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if you work all of those hours, you're up a creek.
So it's very difficult for people to get in and
Mhm.
vote, even if they want to. That's the
Well,
thing here. It's compulsory. You have
if
to
you
find a
tell
way to
your
vote, or you
employer
guys don't have to.
if you tell your employer that you're gonna go vote, they are obligated to give you some time to
Give
go
you that
vote.
time.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
But a lot of people don't know that.
Mm.
And the employer can make it difficult on you if you do.
And they do. They actually
Yeah.
do, because the employers just wants the time from you and doesn't want to give you any free time.
Right.
And if the employer themselves don't find value in your contribution to your obligation to vote for our whole greater good, which they don't, because they're focused on, money. I mean, that's a generalization, but most employers are more focused on their day-to-day thing than the greater good. So yeah, it's hard. You
We
don't
need
want
to
to speak
we need
up.
to make it a condition of employment that employers must give you at least a half day off on voting day.
But you, Claire, so apathy in voting is also just partly that people have no confidence in politics, and
They said it.
Yeah.
They
don't
from
want to vote. It's like, no, they're putting
the
their
re-
hands up and saying it's not going to make any difference. I'm
Well,
walking away from it.
exactly. That's the major one. In the research that I did, is not only is it climbing everywhere, not only in our country, but all countries.
It is.
Voting in
Absolutely, yeah.
general is down all over the
Yeah.
world in
Because people
democratic
feel as though
society.
they have no effect on anything.
Because people
Yeah.
feel it doesn't matter. The politicians are going to do what they want to do. They don't care what the people want anymore. You can
They
vote.
don't
Your
really
vote
listen.
means
Yeah.
nothing. And here in America, they proved that with some reversals of laws that we fought really hard to put in place, and things like that. And you're like, why? You sit back and you're like, why? It's not going to make any difference. I'm a drop in a bucket, and the bucket doesn't matter. I don't mind being a drop in a bucket when it's collective and we're all working to something. Well, when you're the drop in the bucket and the bucket gets picked up and tossed aside and they do whatever the heck they want, it becomes an issue. It becomes an issue. But basically it was apathy. Basically it was not the information not being available, no desire to find the information, making it too difficult, making it economically too difficult into where and how to vote. There were a lot of confident, most of them were just the feeling that it's not going to matter anyway. People want to think, if I voted for this guy's going to win. It's that winning thing too. And then to watch your person not win repeatedly or whatever. But mostly it was that they do not feel it's going to make a difference. That it's a lack of voter confidence in the system itself was reason number one. Was a lack in having any faith that the system was actually working. And I kind of agree with them, because we see it fail every day.
Because the people ultimately are, fundamentally it's true, isn't it? It's always the people versus the big money. The corporations have the biggest influence.
True.
They control the media. All the money comes from them. So they're in the much more powerful position, that small amount of people.
Exactly. Why are the 90% voting when the 10% do whatever the heck they want?
That's right. And this is the issue. It is literally us versus them. I hate to be divisive in that way, but it is like in a lot of ways, it comes down to that,
In my last 5 seconds, because I know we only have like a minute or two left, is that
we will try and keep it.
I would say the apathy is not the answer, because sitting on your butt isn't going to change it either. So the only answer is to keep fighting. If you don't like the way it is, then work to change it. You can't stop working to change it. I agree. It stinks. The whole system is not working properly, but you can't just not participate and think it's going to get better. It's not. It's just going to get worse. Right? And so I say, that's a perfect answer. You just sit on your butt there and complain about how it is, because that's really going to help.
No, that's true, Claire. That's well said.
Yeah.
If we don't engage, then you definitely aren't going to change it. At least you're giving yourself some kind of a chance if you are out there and voting and having your opinion.
I had 2 rules at my dinner table: no cell phones, and if you didn't vote, don't you dare to bring up politics at this table.
Well, with that, we are out of time. We have a lot more topics to discuss. Art has some more clips to show us next time. We'll have some music for you, but that's all we have for this time. Do we have a date on when our next show is going to be?
We don't, but look, now that we've started, I'd say it's going to be every fortnight. So at the moment, I would look at maybe the same time, or maybe a little bit later, because you think that's a better time, Granny.
Yeah,
So
I think we might get more viewers if we go a little later.
Yeah.
I
Okay. So
agree.
we'll probably look at my midday, which is all about 3 or so hours later for you
Okay.
guys, because we start at 9 a.m. here, my
Mhm.
time. So yeah, 2 weeks time on the Saturday, and hopefully everyone's able to make it. We'll try and be consistent with the times, definitely every 2 weeks, so that it's consistent and maybe people know what's happening and they can jump in the chat and whatever. So yeah, two weeks today. We'll confirm a time. As time goes on, we'll confirm everything.
And with that, thank you everyone for coming. It's been a delight to have our audience and our comments from the audience. If you're watching in the future, please leave a comment on the video on what you thought, what you'd like to see from us in the future. And thank you to our whole panel. And
Yeah.
we'll see
Awesome
you
job.
again
Can I just say, Granny, I
Yeah.
really appreciate that, because you're good at this, and that's why I felt confident with you kind of taking the reins. So thank you for guest hosting. I'm happy to have you host all the time if you want to, but I guess we'll rotate it, and you'll be busy doing your thing anyway. But yeah, thanks everybody. Obviously, Ganna and Claire and the people in the chat. So I thought it was great fun. I thought we went good. So more
My
things to come.
favorite way to spend an hour on any day is
Yeah.
talking with intelligent, critical thinking people about just about anything. So I'm looking forward to this. I hope that you all will put suggestions on the back of the video on topics you would like to address, because that helps steer the conversation, and y'all being a part of it is really important. Not just it doesn't really matter that much. Don't take this as an insult, people, but the four of us talking about it isn't the big thing. Everybody talking about it, that's the thing. That's change. That's going towards utopia. Everybody opening their eyes to the situation and weighing in.
Well said, Claire. Yep, that's the whole point of the channel. So okay, thanks, Granny. I'll leave it to you, and I'll end the stream.
Well, I was just gonna say, live your life.
And
Well
vote for
said.
Ganna. She gives out bananas. He's awesome. Like, is he? Yeah.
Yep, she does. Thanks, guys. Good on you. Okay.
Good night, all.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, hang on. There we go.